If you're in the market for a new or pre-owned vehicle, try Pop Chevrolet. Pop Chevrolet will get you the best price guaranteed. Visit popchevy.com. That's P-O-P-S Chevy.com. This episode is brought to you by Paintsville Tourism. Paintsville is located in eastern Kentucky in the heart of the US 23 Country Music Highway. Visit paintsvilletourism.com. That's paintsvilletourism.com. Come see why Paintsville is eastern Kentucky's city of note. This episode is brought to you by Wild Bill's Fireworks. At Wild Bill's, they will help you start and maintain a successful fireworks business. Whether you're starting a retail store, a seasonal tent, or a part-time venture, Wild Bill's is your one-stop wholesale fireworks supplier. Their team can help you pick inventory. They offer business training, ongoing support to make sure you stay profitable no matter the size of your business. Call or text for more information. Just ask for Bill at 606-367-5569. That's 606-367-5569. Or visit wildbillsfireworks.com and make sure you ask about their financing plan. Welcome back to the show. We hope you're enjoying the series. In today's episode, we sit down with Brian Rawlings. Brian was in the previous episodes 1 through 4 with Harold and Friends. Brian was the vice president of Disney and has some interesting stories that I think you'll enjoy. Let's get to it. This is Behind the Shed.
How long were you in the music business before you went with Disney?
Well, that's a good. You know what? I started with him. Really, I had done other things, but they were not traceable things. There is no trace of them, and there should never have been.
Yeah, I hear you.
And so then,
that's a great feature.
It really is. They can't find any of the things I did that I don't want them to find.
Yeah.
No, I came to Nashville to write songs. I came down here in 79. I moved here permanently 1980. Went to Belmont. While I was at Belmont, I met Chuck, which is either the best thing that ever happened to me or the most expensive. Until I'd met my first wife, he was the most expensive friend I'd ever had. And so I met Chuck, and then Chuck met Russ, and then we went down to Muscle Shoals, or you came up, something.
I don't remember, yeah.
Sometime in that period of time, Chuck had gotten fired a couple of times. I'm sure it was unfair, but nonetheless, it had occurred.
Yeah.
And so we had started a company called Cuts. And Cuts stood for Chuck's Unfortunate Temporary Situation. And so, but that was also our song plugging service. And so we ended up working on trying to pitch songs and trying to figure out what that was about. And then I don't remember where, he was at House of Gold when I first met him in the tape room, right? And he plays a big role in me ending up in the music business. So that would have been 81 probably when we met Russ and started doing something called song plugging that we didn't know what we were doing.
So you were still in
Muscle Shoals.
Yeah, and I was trying to come back and forth pitch songs some, and I met them, and Chuck was without a job all of a sudden. He and Brian were hanging. They were coming down, and they said, we think we can pitch some songs. So I hired him, and I paid him $100 a month, I think it was.
Yeah, about that.
Sometimes.
Yeah. When there was $100, he paid us $100. And so I did that. That's how we all got to know each other, and then all kinds of things happened. Like I was writing songs at that point still. I wrote a song with Harlan Howard.
Really?
That I used to joke about it. I was sitting in close quarters one night with Jason, and Jason was working there, and Chuck, and but I was sitting at the bar, so you could only see me from behind, right? So Harlan walked in, and from behind I had long enough hair. He thought I was Rafe Van Hoy. So he came up behind me and said, "Hey, goddamn juvenile, what you doing?" And I said, "Nothing, sir." I knew who he was. And he said, "Oh, hell, I thought you were my buddy Rafe. How are you?" And we talked for a few minutes, got to know each other. So over a few months, Chuck and I would hang out at close quarters, and I got to meet everybody. That was like the greatest place. Like we talk about all the old watering holes where everybody met everybody. That's where we met. Yeah, Roger Miller would go in there all the time.
Yeah.
And Don Cook, Sonny Throckmorton, Harlan Howard, Bobby Braddock, that entire Tree bunch started drinking every day at 3 at close quarters. So, but one day I was just drunk enough to lean back on the couch and look at Harlan, and I said, when are we going to write a song? Because I just had the absolutely uninformed stupidity of a 19 or 20-year-old to say something like that to Harlan Howard. And he said, well,
not necessarily.
I know, he was funny. He said, you're kind of a clever little smart ass. Why don't you come over to Tree next Thursday at 10 o'clock and bring me some titles for Ricky? And I said, all right. And I was 19 or 20. I don't remember. I was writing 25 songs a day until Harlan Howard looked at me and said, bring me some ideas on Thursday. And I sat at my house for like 3 days. I couldn't write my name. I couldn't think of it. There was nothing clever had ever happened in history. I couldn't think of a word, And I went up there and I sat down on the tree, at the couch at Tree, on the second floor where the writers all sit around. There's big couches in the middle. And he sees me there. I got a yellow pad. Harlan comes by and he says, hang on, I got to go see my publisher. He was going to see Curly Putman. So he went back to see Curly. He says, I'll be right back out. And he came out, sat across from me. He says, what do you got for me? And I'm looking at a blank piece of paper. I swear to God, I didn't have one word written on it. So we sat there and stared at each other for a second. I said, well, I did have this one idea. And I'm making this all up as I go. And I said, you're talking about the Kentucky. And I was thinking, and like, well, maybe it's sort of like, it kind of goes like this. Like, say, this ain't my old Kentucky home. And he said, that's kind of clever. I think he might like that. Come out to my house Thursday and we'll write it. So another week goes by. I've written down 4 words. I got up to his place and sat down in his den, looked at the wall, and he'd won 11 BMI awards the year I was born. So I referred to myself as the stenographer for the stars. He said shit, and I'd write it down and go, yeah. And what about this? And he'd say, that's pretty good. And then he'd give a real good line, and I'd write that down. And, so I did get it right with Harlan. And so I was still writing songs, and then desperately needed a day job. And my buddy Chris Smith had been going around looking for work. And he said, he says, Rob Galbraith over at Millsaps needs somebody part-time. And I said, okay. He says, I can't take it because I need to work full-time. But he says, you should go see him. So I went over there and I sat in the lobby for about 3 or 4 days, waiting outside of his office until his horrible secretary, and I was right about her, she got fired about 6 months later. She was evidently terrible at her job, but she finally said, all right, he can see you now. He had a big old Rottweiler named Blues that laid on the floor next to him when he was at work. And so I'm walking into Rob Galbraith's office in Ronnie Millsap's building, feeling like, I felt like Belle in Beauty and the Beast, And he's like, she said, it's just as I started in the door that secretary said, don't make any sudden moves. Don't make any sudden moves. Because there's that dog. Big old dog, right?
Yeah.
And it turns out that dog wouldn't have, he wouldn't have chased anything. But so I went in there and I sat down and he offered me, we talked for about 10 minutes. And he went in his closet and he pulled out a 100-gallon lawn and leaf bag full of cassettes. And he looked at me and he said, you go through all these cassettes, take as long as you need to, and I'll pay you $50 just for listening to all of them. And then you come back and see me and tell me which ones I need to hear.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's fair.
That's good.
So I was living with Chuck. So I went back to Blair Boulevard where me and Chuck lived. I dumped the whole thing out in the living room floor. We opened a bottle of Jack Daniels. We pulled the cassette deck was over on this. We had some fancy furniture, or some people called it cinder blocks and boards. And so I pulled the cassette deck over on the middle of the table, and we sat there and did, first time we ever professionally screened songs. And we went through those things in like 24 hours. Didn't sleep, didn't stop, listened to a verse and chorus, and then threw it out. verse and chorus, and threw it out. So I wrapped that bag up. I went back to see Galbraith, brought the bag in and set it down in his office. And he said, well, what do I need to hear in there? And I said, Mr. Galbraith, I do not believe you need to hear one song out of that bag. And he said, you're hired.
Wow.
So that was in 1984. I started at Disney in 1991.
Well, back up. How did you get from there to Disney?
Well, to consolidate it, I dated a girl in Los Angeles, and her dad was a famous songwriter. And I think he finally, by about 1985, 86, he decided to be cheaper to hire me than fly his daughter back and forth to Nashville to date me. I think that's really all it was. Tom Snow hired me and moved me to Los Angeles. And that was so after that, that's right after we'd started the Young Turks. And that had gone well. I'd had some cuts, finally had my first taste of what it meant to bring somebody a song and then hear it on the radio. And that's a dramatic feeling, you know.
Yeah.
What was that song? What was the first one?
I don't remember because I was so junior that I remember working on Prisoner of the Highway with Reed and going to bat for that one. I had nothing whatever to do with Lost in the 50s Tonight, but that was the biggest hit while I was there. And Lost in the 50s Tonight was so big. I don't know if you remember this or not, Harold, but Ronnie won the Song of the Year award at the ACM.
That's right.
And you know, this is back before, like Doyle's talking about, this before phones. There was no way to get a hold of anybody. I was in Los Angeles dating this girl, you know. So we went to the Academy to the award show. It was the night that we bombed Libya, when the U.S. bombed Libya. Show was preempted 2 hours. During that time, I ran into Ronnie and Joyce. I didn't even know Ronnie Millsap, but he knew who I was, and we'd talked, but that was about it. And he said, Brian, are you dressed nice, son? And I said, well, yeah, I've got on a tuxedo like everybody else. And he said, if we win that Song of the Year, why don't you come up and get it with me? I said, are you sure? And he said, yeah, it'd be good for you. I said, all right. So I went back. He didn't like to sit in a big crowd. Now here I'm a brand new song plugger, freshly minted Music Row song plugger. And I'm sitting next to Lee Greenwood and the Oak Ridge Boys and Sylvia and Steve Warner and everybody. Alabama's in the way front up there. The ones you made were in the way front. I was in about the fourth row. And I was in heaven, you know. They preempted the show for 2 hours and covered the news of the U.S. bombing Gaddafi in Libya. And so finally the show goes on. And sure enough, we won Song of the Year. Well, I'm sitting in Ronnie's seats. He didn't like crowds, so he put me in his seats. So I'm in the fourth row of the ACMs. They announce the thing. I stand up. I gave my girl that I was with a little peck on the cheek, which slightly complicated the girlfriend that I had in Nashville problem. Hadn't really planned on being on national television that night. And so I got up and I walked on stage. Now, Rob Galbraith and Mike Reed are in Nashville. They have no idea that Ronnie has asked me to come up on stage with him.
So Mike Reed's the writer and Rob...
Yeah, Mike Reed wrote the song. Rob Galbraith produced it and owned it. And they're sitting at home in Green Hills. To hear Mike Reed tell, he says, I was throwing shoes and shit at the television. I'm going, what in the hell does Rawlings think he's doing? He's walking up on stage because Ronnie's blind and he thinks he can just get away with it. So I'm standing behind Millsap.
That's funny.
I remember it was Boxcar Willie, Louise Mandrell, and John and Michael Martin Murphy gave us the award.
Another
right?
superstar.
Isn't that what? It was such a great time, right? So there I am. I'm just a podunk hillbilly from Appalachia. I'm walking up behind Ronnie Millsap, standing there, looking goofy, you know. And sure enough, Ronnie says, "Brian, are you here, son?" And I said, "Yeah, right here." And he says, "Come on up here and thank the writers." So now Rob Galbraith and Mike Reed are back in Nashville just having a cow. They're like, holy shit, he's got Ronnie in on it. He's got Ronnie in on it. So I really, honestly, I have a lot to be grateful for. Yeah. You know, I was so sweet of him.
That's a great story.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
And it wasn't long after that I got offered the job to move to Los Angeles, where I worked for my my girlfriend's dad for a couple of years. I represented really some of the great pop lyricists in the world, John Bettis and Dean Pitchford, and a bunch of guys that wrote huge hits, and even had Bob Dylan's special writer music catalog for a little while. And so it went on, and I had several of those. Eric Kaz, who was one of my favorite songwriters.
I like Bob Dylan.
Oh, Dylan was just, it was something to be a part of that. So I got to be a part of that, and then wasn't long till I wrote a television theme for NBC for a show called Sister Kate. And so my friend Mason Cooper and I got hired to write a theme song, and it made it, and it ran for about a year. But that was sure fun, getting to see your name go by every Sunday night at 9 o'clock. And then I finally got a real BMI check. I called up Phil Graham. It's been 10 years since I got signed, and I said, I finally made my advance back, But that was a lot of fun. So then shortly thereafter, I met a girl, and my buddy told me I needed to get a job. And fortunately, I knew famous people, so I got a job working for Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller.
Oh.
And I ran Lieber and Stoller creative side for about 18 or 24 months before Disney hired me away. And I was supposed to come over there and start a pop publishing company and get things out of the movie business. Did some of that. Had a good run. My first number one, and you guys talked about it in the last episode, was with Doug Stone. I had a song called I Never Knew Love on Doug Stone that Will Robinson wrote. And it was my first number one at Disney. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and then it went on from there. Things went pretty good.
That's kind of fun. You went out there to do pop music, and your first one was a country.
First was a country hit. I only knew country writers, so the only people I could sign were people I'd known from back in Nashville. So I signed Will Robinson because I always liked him.
Will?
Yeah.
You signed Will?
I signed Will's my first signing in Los Angeles at Disney.
He wrote some of Alabama's early stuff.
Yep.
He did. I don't know. I just talked to him yesterday, as a matter of fact. He'll come see us one day when we're recording.
Yeah,
That'd be
Will's a
fun.
great guy.
Yeah, man.
What
cool.
did you do for Disney then?
So I started out as...
Now, did John Gerard die?
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, quite some time
He was,
ago.
he was also a tremendous
Yes, he
musician.
was.
So.
Yeah, and a songwriter.
Yeah, great writer.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was a good one, man. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing we got this thing going because we always talk about the people we knew that died. And I mean, I could be next.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I
Let's get through the podcast.
Get my
first.
licks in before I go.
We hope you're enjoying this episode of Behind the Shed. Today's sponsors are PopChevy.com, Paintsville Tourism, Wild Bill Fireworks, and the Kent Rose Foundation.
Okay.
So I was hired to start a publishing company there, a pop one. And so we started that. It went okay. It was struggling for a couple of years. And then little by little, I figured out how the machine worked. You got to keep this side greased over here and that side over there. Make sure that guy's got to be happy and that guy's got to be happy. Because I never worked at a corporation. Like we were talking before lunch, none of us had ever had a boss. And all of a sudden, boy, I had a boss. Disney was very, very, very strict about corporate protocol, etc.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn a lot really fast. And that meant learning the finance of the publishing business, and it meant understanding foreign sub-publishing. And I got to travel around the world and make all those sub-publishing deals for the new companies and go to Midem in south of France every year. And,
Yeah,
I joke about it. I'm just a hillbilly from Appalachia that has a favorite restaurant in Nice. And heck, I have a favorite limo driver in London. I've got a particular pub I like. It's in a little place called Send in Surrey, outside of London, about an hour. Great spot.
Wow.
And so I got to just do so many great things, And in that period of time, because music publishing touches every part of the Walt Disney Company, I got to work on rides. I did put together music for Mission Space, a ride at Epcot. We got to redo some music when they were working on Space Mountain. And my kids got to go test rides that they weren't sure they were going to do or not, and they'd let executive kids go do those things.
That's fun.
Then it was all said and done, and the reason I get to be here is because the last 6 or 7 years, I'd become really good friends with the president of the Disney Channel, and I'd solved a few problems for him over time. But the biggest problem by far was he called me one Thursday afternoon, and he said, Brian, he didn't say this, he cussed a lot, but he said, Brian, are you in your office? And I said, yeah. I said, you called me here. He said, oh, yeah. He said, I'm sending down all these people. And he says, I said, well, and he was very nervous. It's, you could tell. I'm like, what's going on? He says, I'm screwed. He says, I said, what? He says, as far as I can tell, I just put a choreographer on an airplane at LAX to fly to Toronto to teach 3 girls how to dance to 4 songs that have not been written yet. And I said, well, that is a pickle, isn't it? So we sorted through a bunch of songs. A woman named Deborah Martin Chase, and she was the producer of that movie. She produced a whole bunch of big Disney movies, feature films and television. And we found a couple of songs and got enough for them to do. And then I had another writer that had Nashville background, Jamie Houston. We called Jamie, and he wrote a song.
Talented guy. Yeah.
Super talented guy. We went on and we had a very good run, he and I. But so he wrote a song called Cheetah Sisters over the weekend. And there was a song called Together We Can that my guys in England had written. And a song called Cinderella that had been written for Princess Diaries 2 that Disney owned, but we hadn't used it. So we put all those songs and sent them to Toronto, at which point they could start making the movie The Cheetah Sisters, The Cheetah Girls. Cheetah Sisters was the song. The Cheetah Girls, first Cheetah Girls movie on the Disney Channel. And that album sold, I think, 3.5 million. And they'd never had anything like that happen before. We'd had some successful things in the feature film side, sure. But the Disney Channel, for that to happen, it was an amazing success. So we did that one. Cheetah Girls won. Then I told Gary, who was the president at the Disney Channel, I said, all right, we're going to be fine. But don't you ever make a musical without calling me first. And he never did. And so we went on and we made 4 in a row, sold right at 50 million records in about 7 years.
Almighty.
And the New York Times says that the High School Musical series that we did for Disney made the company about $2 billion. So it was a good run. But once again, very much like everything Harold Shedd ever touched, it was weird, right? It wasn't the norm.
Yep.
Nothing about it was like what they did over here.
Yeah.
We had none of that going on,
Yeah,
right?
I got you.
It was, let's make a break into song musical for 11-year-olds. What could go wrong?
Yeah.
And so we did.
But
so it was great fun.
But also, you kind of ran through that real quick.
Yeah, I wanted
to
compress
for the High School
it.
Musical thing, I know you're trying to get through quick, but the High School Musical thing, you put all the writers together.
Yeah.
And pretty much had the themes. You got to write these songs for this musical.
By the time we got to, because of the Cheetah Girls debacle, shall we say, where they didn't have any songs, they're trying to make a musical without any songs. So we got a heads up on that. So really within about 3 months, the next script that I got was High School Musical. And Peter Bergalosi wrote it, and we got it. So we went through that one with a highlighter. Said, we ought to put a song right here, and it should be up-tempo, and it ought to be like that. And I should get Matthew Gerard and Robbie Neville to write that song.
Yeah.
So we'd explain what the song needed to be, and we'd send them off to write the song.
Boy, that thing was huge. God.
That was huge.
Yeah.
That was, including Hannah Montana, that allowed me, I worked on 5 of the top 10 biggest television soundtracks in history, just during that period of time.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was a big run. So a very exciting time, and it was crazy, like they always are, when things are going like that. You don't expect it. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden people are calling you from all over the place going like, what happened? I'm like, I don't know what happened. My 2 favorite days at Disney were Tuesday when I got SoundScan and Thursday when I got paid. That was the only 2 days I cared about. That was a lot of fun. There was a lot of records.
Now, as we were talking in the first episode,
So
all the
did
guys.
you?
Go ahead. I was going to say. I was just going to say. Now you know why when all the other guys talk about Brian come to town because he spent some of that Disney money. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was wondering if you ever used any pre-written material in a soundtrack.
Absolutely did. Most of the time, what I was doing, we had specific writers do it on purpose. 2 reasons. One is Disney needed to own it. When you package a musical, it's very difficult if it's successful Like this, look at the Lion King right now is almost 30 years old, right? And if Elton John and Tim Rice had copyright recapture rights, everybody'd be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So all those songs are written as work for hire. If they're in a film that's where they're integrated like that, they're almost all work for hire. Then the things that are in the background, on the road, a band playing in the background, radio stuff, all that was pre-written stuff. So most fun I had in Nashville was Fox and the Hound 2. I came down here and I set up a big stage down at, or a big meeting room at the Lowe's on West End. We had storyboards and pictures and all kinds of things so the songwriters could come in, and we ate a whole bunch of food at Ruth's Chris and told them how great it was going to be. And got, I think Marcus Hummond wrote one of those songs.
There were a lot of people though, and that, as I remember, because we did one, Tony did one for you.
Yeah, that's right.
And as I remember, the way Disney did it, Harold, interestingly enough, they'd say, okay, we're going to pay you $2,000. I don't know what it was now, to go write the song.
Yep.
And then if we keep it, we're going to publish it.
Yep.
And so that's how it works.
And then we give you more money.
Yeah.
Now, I will say those work for hire deals, those guys made as much money as they would have made otherwise.
Just Millhouse couldn't be involved in it.
Exactly.
Tony could, but we couldn't be in it. Yeah.
Yeah, Tony got his money, but that's not true either. With Elton John's deal and Tim Rice's deal, they had co-publishing.
Oh, I see. Okay.
They were paid a co-publisher share to their publisher, but it was on the schedule. It wasn't. It was set up as a Schedule A. It wasn't part of the contract. So
Right.
yeah, it was wild. But I had to learn all that too. I had to learn the legal stuff, right? So I was fortunate. It was, I mean, it was trial by fire. It always is, right? But sure did learn a lot. So it's good to know. And it was a crazy period of time. Still in the Guinness Book of World Records twice.
That's pretty cool.
Biggest jump in chart history.
Wow.
That was a Jamie Houston song.
Yeah. Yeah, man, even like that, that Hannah Montana thing. I mean, we go on, but boy, Hannah Montana, oh my God. I remember back when that was going on, you guys were putting that together. Am I wrong remembering it was initially called Lexus, Texas, wasn't it?
I believe it was.
That was the original title?
Lexus, yeah.
Because I remember.
There was also a Oklahoma name at one point.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but I remember when I was working with Billy on a record, back around that time, and I know they were trying to get Miley that gig then. And I'll never forget you calling me and telling me, we were talking about
it was Miley, yeah. Because somebody else had been cast.
Yeah.
There were a lot of good reasons to hire Miley, though. And Billy Ray was one of the reasons.
Yeah.
Because he could be there having a father on the show, having a dad on the show that could actually be a dad to the minor actor also means she's always available. Right. Yeah. So since he's going to be on the show too, and she's on the show because she has to have an escort at all times. It's either a hired guardian or a parent has to be with her 24 hours a day. Mm-hmm. So it was great to have Billy Ray there.
How much money did Hannah Montana make?
It's kind of hard to say, and I'll tell you why. Cable shows. The only reason I know about the one on High School Musical is exclusively because the New York Times did a thing and they interviewed a bunch of Disney people, and they came to the conclusion that it had made about $2 billion.
Really? That much?
Now, Hannah Montana wouldn't have been that big, but it would have made an enormous amount of money. The thing is, it's on cable TV, so if you pay your $19.99 a month, you can watch it as much as you want. Yeah. There's no limits. So it's hard to say what the real impact of those things.
Yeah.
If it made... One of the things about High School Musical, the Cheetah Girls jump in, and then the Jonas Brothers movie, Camp Rock, Hannah Montana during that period of time. And there were a bunch of other ones too, but those are the sort of highlights. It raises the amount of money you can charge the cable guys to carry the Disney Channel.
I got you.
I'm sure that's gone down substantially since because it's been tough the last few years. Yeah, it's crazy. Completely different side of the music business.
Yeah, it was completely different. Yeah.
And I had never imagined I would be doing it. It just worked out.
I thought it always looked interesting to me in that Hannah Montana, when she turned 19, lost all of her audience.
Yeah.
And Taylor Swift, when she turned 19, she took
Doubled
an
it.
entire audience with her and has kept them all
She has.
her career.
There's been nothing more impressive than Taylor Swift
No kidding.
in the last 20
No,
years. You know.
I wish I had signed her.
Oh my
Boy,
goodness.
She's really smart. No, and I think she's great myself, but smart.
I do
really
too.
Smart.
I mean, I think the thing is she makes the cotton candy,
Actually,
but it's like
she had
you know.
some good songs.
She does.
She did.
Well, it's funny. I had one of my song pluggers at Disney. I over the years I would hire a song plugger to work Nashville for us. Before Lyric Street was open, we had just a series of different people pitching songs, and Liz Rose was one of them. And Liz Rose worked for me for about 2.5 years, and I don't think she ever mentioned to me that she was a songwriter.
I didn't know it for a long time.
Right? And then she went and wrote the first 2 albums
Yep.
with Taylor Swift. Worked out pretty good.
Yeah.
I didn't get any of the damn publishing, though, because she didn't tell me about
Boy,
it.
no kidding.
Yeah, it's an admirable thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. She's good. It's funny. I got to have an aside story here about Hannah Montana. So during that period of time when y'all were doing those first episodes, as you remember, I was working with Billy on that record. It stretched out over a year. Terry Shelton and I, his band leader, and at the house. I had my studio in the house at the time, and so we were going to work one day, and the Hannah Montana show had just blown up. I think the first season.
Yeah, it was a big hit.
And Billy called me one night and wanted to know if he could come by. We were just getting ready to have dinner on whatever day it was to put a vocal on something. He said, I want to bring Miley. She's home from California for a while to sing on this thing with me. I said, sure, that'd be fine. So I hang up the phone. We're having dinner, and my daughter, who was in the 2nd grade, said, Miley Cyrus is coming over here. And I said, well, and Billy'd been there a bunch of times. It didn't matter, Said, yeah, I got to be here. So I called Billy the next day. I said, hey, is it okay if my daughter comes by after we finish singing? She wants to meet Miley. He said, absolutely. So anyway, we'd set it up so that when we finished doing vocals, I was going to call my wife. She was going to pick up my daughter at grade school, which wasn't far away, and bring her home, take her out of school early. So anyway, I call her when we're done. And Debbie, my ex-wife, goes to pick Livia at school, my daughter up at school. She said she went by the principal's office and went in and knocked on the door. And when she knocked on the door, the teacher said, yeah, come on in. And every girl in the class stood up and formed a line at the door. She had told them all what she was doing. So obviously we couldn't bring all the kids over. But, it was like my dad bringing the Beatles home for me.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely.
so cool. Yeah. Anyway.
I love that with the kids. My kids had a pretty good run.
Yeah, they did.
They had a fun time growing up. I've always said being a Disney executive is a fascinating and interesting story in and of itself. But being a Disney executive's kid, that's the job right there. That's what you're looking for.
Go to the theme park anytime.
Theme park was free. They got to go, like when Hannah Montana for the show, we would just do one concert a year. And it would be, only ones I remember were at Anaheim Convention Center. And they'd set up the stage, and they'd have her and her band. They'd come out, and they'd be dressed in a certain way when they had all this stuff behind them, or the name of a town or something, or lit up a certain way. I paid no attention. And so my kids could come and bring all their friends to this free concert. Mm-hmm. So they'd all come there, and they'd all get glow sticks and things you wore around your neck and your arms, and all the candy. You had to keep them up for like 2 hours. So keep them full of candy and keep them jacked up. But the thing was, Miley would come out as Hannah Montana and sing 30 seconds of her quote unquote big hit, the best of both worlds,
right.
Whatever. And then she was done. Then she'd go change clothes. They'd change the set, bring it out, and then she'd come back and sing it again for 30 seconds.
Wow.
And then go back out and come back. But they didn't care. They just loved it and screamed and yelled.
Oh, yeah.
There'd be 1,000 of their closest friends down there looking as though there were 10,000 people.
Now the first Hannah Montana record and the first album anyway, who put those songs together?
Mostly the TV show guys. So nobody...
But like the best of both worlds, were you not involved in that one? Or
a little bit. It's like, so my guys were working on it. We had a team at that time that I'd been assembling little by little over a long period of time that were good at writing for things. So Matt Gerard wrote Best of Both Worlds. And he had just had a big hit with Kelly Clarkson. The I didn't know how to fly.
I know the song, yeah.
Breakaway.
Breakaway.
Just had a big #1 with Kelly Clarkson. And he's a successful guy out of Canada, then moved to LA and it was working with us. And so he wrote a bunch of things that were really, really, really good for different television shows. And he continues to do some of that work. Hadn't been with Disney for years, but
Wow.
as none of them had to work anymore. It was one of those weird things where the same guys worked from that beginning of Hannah Montana all the way through the Jonas Brothers, and they all became multimillionaires
Yeah.
over and over again. It was crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
It was a crazy time.
It was a
That
crazy
stuff out
time.
there.
We were selling a lot of records, and the radio stations. It's funny because you'd remember this from being in radio. All of a sudden, they're doing the top 40 on the weekend, and I get a phone call at my house. The switchboard at the Walt Disney Company called me and said, "Is this Brian Rawlings?" And yeah, said, "We have a call for you from a radio station like in Chicago or something." I don't even remember who it was. I'm like, "A radio? Okay, put him through." You know, so I'm on the telephone. This guy says, "Who in the hell are Troy and Gabriella?" And I'm like, "Well, they're the characters in a movie. Why?" He said, "Well, they're number 5 this week, and we have to play the song because, they're number 5 on the pop charts. They'd been 86 the week before, so it went from 86 to number 5, and we still only had the names of the characters on there. The names of the people that actually sang it weren't even on the record.
Wow.
So it was surprised a few programmers.
Wow.
So we were able to keep those names. We just made them nom de plumes.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah, that's
crazy.
crazy. That's big money for that. And then there were, greeting cards, backpacks, pencils, and, singing. Anything that you could put a chip in, we had something that sang some song from High School Musical somewhere.
Yeah. Disney's good at that.
Yeah, they can market merchandise.
So interesting to me, this trajectory, from all these things we've talked about, and we all count you as a mentor. This one's way over there somewhere. It's kind of crazy how that mushroom does that. You know what I mean? Isn't that cool? That's fun.
It was always great because I never got to be good friends with very many producers in Nashville because I was always a little bit, well, first of all, I was arrogant, but I always, I don't know, there was always a little edge there where it seemed like they were playing small potatoes. And Harold was playing big potatoes.
Yep.
Right? And it was like, I just liked
Really big potatoes.
the whole idea of taking a chance on something that you're not supposed to do was just always a more fun idea.
Oh,
Why
yeah.
get in the music business to do the same shit that he did last Thursday?
Exactly.
It's not any fun.
Harold
So
had the potato farm.
he had the farm. He did. But it was his own kind of potatoes. Yeah. They're little shed spuds.
Yeah, shed spuds. I like. We got to find a tchotchke for that. Shed
Yeah,
spuds,
right? I need a Mr. Potato Head with those glasses by next Thursday.
Behind the potato.
Behind Tater. Oh, God.
That's funny.
Harold, so over the years, even though I was in Los Angeles, so I'd come back, I'd see Harold occasionally when either Chuck was around or then when you were working there. And they're great stories, right? The other problem, I loved Larry Butler because he was a great storyteller, right? We'd get three, and I blame him. I can't say it's him. We got loaded and would sit in his studio and he'd tell stories, And I'd rather listen to him at that time than anybody, And we just same with you. Yours were just funnier. Like you remember the guy there was a guy, we don't have to use any names, but there was a guy whose car was being repoed one day.
Oh, yeah, Raleigh. Raleigh Squires.
Raleigh Squires, that's
I
right.
told that story last night.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to call the podcast
Squires,
that.
Hindsight's 50.
Hindsight's 50-50. That's what I told all the guys. That's what I wanted to call the podcast because we're just going to talk about
That was
shit
one of the suggestions.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Hindsight's 50.
Well, sir. Hindsight's 50-50.
Oh my God. That's funny.
Clyde Otis.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think we
I
published.
really like Clyde.
Yeah, we published some of Clyde Otis's songs at Lieber and Stoller.
Yeah, I bet you did. Yeah.
Those guys. I knew who they were,
Yeah.
but I didn't know. So I got a call. There was a guy named Lester Sill, and Lester was the president of Joe Bet Music. So
Joe
Motown.
Bet.
Joe Bet,
Whoa.
Motown's company.
Yeah, Motown.
Yeah. And what did that mean? What was that from? Joe?
I think that Joe Bet was, if I'm not mistaken, it had to do with Berry Gordy's family. It was either his wife or mom. Maybe it was his mom and dad's names.
Yeah.
So I went over to Joe Bet one day, and the guy that had hired me to write the theme song for NBC, his dad was this famous guy named Lester Sill, who in the publishing business in LA and New York, very, very famous.
Yep.
And so I went to see him, and he says, you got to get a job, kid, because I was getting married. He says, you got to get a job, kid. You're going to need benefits and insurance and all that shit, you know. And I've just been a songwriter, you know. So he got on the phone. He made a couple of calls, you know, and he says, shit, that's not going to be called EMI. He says, nah, they just promoted somebody. They don't have the right spot for you. Hang on. And he gets on the phone, and they chewing, chawing, and hollering at somebody. He says, can you have lunch Monday at La Dome, which was an insanely fancy restaurant, right? And I'm like, can I have lunch with Lester Sill, the president of Joe Bet Music, Monday at La Dome? Let me have my secretary look at my schedule. So I said, I believe I can do that, sir. Yes, sir. I say yes, sir, a lot with Mr. Sill.
Yeah, I got it.
And he introduces me to Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller.
Wow.
And they're both sitting there. And I knew I was going to meet them, right? So I went and got a book somewhere, maybe at the library back then, you know, and started reading the list of their hits. And it just goes on and on
How many did they have on the coasters?
Well, all of them. So they wrote all the coaster songs. So they wrote all the hits. So Love Potion Number 9. The what was the one that the Beatles cut? The Beatles had a big record on the coasters hit.
Not Kansas City.
No, Kansas City they wrote too. They wrote On Broadway, and they wrote no, it was a dude's name.
They wrote Poison Ivy, didn't they?
Poison Ivy. They wrote the
Poison Ivy.
yeah, all those things, and then they wrote On Broadway.
Charlie Brown.
And Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown.
And I mean, you think about Kansas City, you know, it's like one of those songs. I didn't think anybody wrote Kansas City. I just figured it had always been.
Yeah.
And
But even what about the Elvis hits?
well, they had 28 Elvis cuts,
Oh my God.
and because they wrote Jailhouse Rock, they wrote Viva Las Vegas, Love Me, and then Hound Dog was the biggest for Big Mama Thornton. That was a good one. Big Mama Thornton's record. First of all, it's a girl song. So Hound Dog's a woman song. Number 2, it's about a gigolo that she can't kick out of the house. Well, obviously, that's not the one Elvis cut, right? So there was this dude doing a lounge act in Vegas and had a really good reputation. And Elvis and I guess the Colonel went and saw this guy sing in Vegas. And they loved this song, this Hound Dog song. But he had made up a bunch of words to make it work for a guy to sing it. And Elvis cut that version. So there's 4 or 5 lines in that song that Jerry Lieber did not write.
Wow. I didn't know that. Wow.
He said, yeah, you ain't never caught a rabbit was not something I came up with. He said that was just the guy that sang it in Vegas.
Wow.
So, yeah, a bunch of that crazy stuff. We used to go, when I worked for Lieber and Stoller, we'd go down they had a safe deposit box at City National Bank. And Randy Poe and I got to go down there a couple of times. He just took me with me to show it to me. Pulled out this great big thing and opened it up. And there are all the contracts with Elvis Presley's signature, Colonel Tom Parker, and Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller for when they were hired to write the movies.
Wow.
You know? And it's just amazing to see that much history in one place.
Wow. Yeah.
Ugh. But he's the most interesting guy I ever knew. Jerry Lieber knew everyone. He wrote Jackson.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He wrote the lyrics for Jackson.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys. He was a little more like Shel Silverstein, in the way he just wrote all the time, and he was a little manic and a little crazy and just constantly creating something.
Well, which one's still living?
Mike Stoller.
Stoller, yeah.
Yeah, Jerry died several years ago.
Yeah, so Stoller was in town.
Recently, he came out and he did like his 90th birthday thing.
Yeah, or something, yeah.
He was at the CMA Theater.
Yeah.
And he's still very fun to hang out with. He's in the Herald category.
Yeah.
He has been around the music business his whole life, and he didn't want to be in the music business. He was a classical pianist. He didn't wish to be bothered.
Oh.
But Jerry Lieber is a very convincing fellow when he gets you going, Talked him into writing some blues, and he says, well, at least it's easy.
Yeah. That's fun.
Went well for those boys.
Yeah.
But that exposed me to a whole other side of the music business.
Yep.
the commercials and synchronization in television and catalog acquisition.
Yep.
You know,
Wow.
started
Man,
buying
already moved.
catalogs. It was wild.
Yeah. Yeah, I've already moved from us.
Can you guys explain a little bit how that works with syncing songs?
So
Brian's great at it.
So my job really for Lieber and Stoller. So Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller started making an enormous amount of money, obviously in the late 50s when Hound Dog was a hit. So there was this guy named Freddie Beanstalk. Freddie,
I know that name.
yeah, his wife was partners in Atlantic.
Yep.
So Freddie had a company called Trio Music, and then which was co-owned. That was the trio was Jerry Lieber, Mike Stoller, and Freddie Beanstalk.
I didn't know that.
He got fired by Elvis's cousins, the Auerbachs, and the Auerbachs were kind of Elvis's thugs, you know. And so if I'm never seen again, it's because they heard this. But he got fired by them for stealing. And Jerry, and this is very Jerry Lieber, he's like, anybody that's got balls enough to steal from the Auerbachs, I got to hire that guy. So they hired him. And they put him out. They said, you go find catalogs. We'll pay for it. You find them. We'll be partners. And they bought the New York Times publishing companies and what would later become SBK. But they owned Fiddler on the Roof, Zorba the Greek, all the Melanie songs, the Turtles hits, all that. They just bought all these copyrights over the years. They also had this kid that worked for them he was their tape op guy and assistant engineer. And if you worked for him, you had to give him your publishing, you know. So they had all the Phil Spector's publishing too, because he was their tape operator.
Wow.
And they invented Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller. You can tip your hat real quick because they invented something called the producer's royalty.
I know that story.
There had never been a producer paid any money on a record before. So they went to Jerry Wexler and Ahmet Ertegun, and they were on staff at RCA, but they were still producing the Drifters over on Atlantic. So Jerry and Mike, and Jerry's the kind of guy that will ask you a hard question. So he looked at Ahmet and Jerry and he says, we got to get paid for this stuff. We're giving you all our great songs and you're doing all this work for you and we're not getting any money out of it. And they said, so we just want a penny a record. A penny a record going forward. And Ahmet Ertegun and Jerry Wexler did what they wanted to do at that point. They had them removed by security and thrown out of the building. And 2 weeks later, called Jerry back up and said, all right, Jerry, you know, because they stopped producing stuff for Atlantic. They just went away and went back to RCA and did their job. So 2 weeks later, either Jerry or Ahmet one called him and said, all right, damn it, you can have your penny for being a producer. You know, just get back to work. Yeah. Right? And that was the first time any producer had ever been paid a percentage on a record sale.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. And so that became, then obviously from there on, it grew into a real business. But, you know, it was a staff job back then, you know, in the 50s.
Well, that's true.
Right? You were just on salary.
Yeah, our RCA used to have staff producers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ronnie Light was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Roy Day.
Yep.
Wow.
George Martin was a staff producer for Parlophone. All those Beatles records he didn't get paid a dime on.
Yeah.
And let's see. Who else? Bob Ferguson.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was a different world. They were just pioneers, you know. They didn't know any better. So they just did it anyway. Like you were talking about in that last episode, it's like they didn't know if they were going to make any money.
Yep.
Right?
That's true.
They didn't know.
Yep.
I mean, they figured people might know who they were because they wrote a song on the radio, you know. That's about it. So when Elvis, one great story, and then I should transfer this from about me, but Mike Stoller was on the Andrea Doria, the boat that sank. And so they all were mostly saved, everybody on it, and he was picked up by a lifeboat and brought in by a steamer into New York Harbor. Jerry Lieber met him at the dock with a shark skin suit and a bottle of Courvoisier and said, Mike, we're rich. Elvis cut Hound Dog. and well, they just were crazy characters.
Elvis Cuthound.
Yeah, Elvis Cuthound
Well,
dog.
that was a big one.
Can you imagine what that day was like? Oh
Wow.
my God! I got a letter from the Colonel Tom Parker, hanging on my office wall. He wrote me a lovely note when we had worked on a thing together, and he had become very much a bit of a shadow of his former self, as you might imagine. Nobody stays that mean that long in their life, and he was a very sweet man. And he wrote me a lovely note and mailed me a postcard with a poem on it, and signed Colonel Tom. It was
Wow.
really lovely. Yeah, he's a sweet man. I met Anne Margaret doing that job.
Wow.
Right? I remember one day we drove out to Anne Margaret's house and got to sit in the den with her and her husband, and because there was an undiscovered Elvis track with Anne Margaret singing on it that we were going to release.
Oh.
Wow.
Right? I mean, just different things,
Wow.
And it was just made it
What
exciting.
was his name? He was an actor.
I don't know.
It's funny. I can see his face, and you're right. I can't remember.
It was something simple like Smith or something like.
I just don't know if they were still married at that time or not.
Oh,
This
okay.
might be a later version.
Could be.
Yeah, it was something. But I couldn't believe
Yeah. Well, this
Roger
morning.
Smith.
Roger Smith, is that
Was
what
it?
his name was?
Roger.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did
Roger
you know
Smith.
that? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Portable pocket communicator. Yeah.
exactly.
It's interesting. We were talking today about, I wonder if things will still have the longevity they've had through history, like the fact that we still are enthralled with Elvis all these years later and stuff, and as we think about that kind of stuff, Harold had a good friend named Joe Gercio, that actually he did the theme thing for Elvis, right?
Oh yeah, no kidding.
It was a what do you call it? Not a composer,
Arranger.
arranger. He did arrangements and stuff, and
Oh yeah.
and
yeah.
did all Elvis's live stuff, right?
Yeah.
And if we hear all these stories about how bad Colonel Tom was, depending on who you ask and everything.
Yeah, of course.
And a few times I was around him, he said, "Man, I thought Colonel Tom was great. I mean, without him, there wouldn't have been an Elvis and all that. But you knew him better than I did. But it's just that stuff interests me so much about because those were icons, immortal. We can't even compare them. It's like all the stuff.
Well, he was I guess you would say he was a typical manager,
Right.
and that he stole everything and kept it.
Exactly. And then
And that's
had
what they do.
yeah, and then he gambled it away.
Didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't he used to come to town and get a check off of Elvis's royalties or something you were talking about?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, when Joyce Triplett worked for
Yeah,
me,
sure. Yeah.
Joyce had been at RCA for I don't know how many years, long enough that she was comptroller of RCA.
that's right.
She approved all advances, all things that were paid.
Right.
And she said that Colonel Tom used to come in on Monday and get $300,000 or $400,000,
Right.
and go pay his debts, and
Yeah.
charge it to Elvis.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
And would that be in like the 60s?
60s and 70s.
And 70s still.
80s.
That'd be a couple million today.
Part of the 80s. She came to work for me in the 80s, didn't she?
Why did she leave just because she wanted to work for you? I always wondered about that because Joyce was there when I was at Millsaps.
We sold the
She was,
studio about that time.
Right.
And then she had cancer,
Did she? I didn't know.
and she passed away about the time.
That was at the end, though.
Yeah.
She came like 88, I think. Does that sound right? It was early
Yeah.
because she worked with you before you went to the label.
Well, I was talking to Jerry one day, Jerry Bradley, and I says, Jerry, I need a person. I need a Girl Friday.
Yeah.
And he said, well, get Joyce Triplett. And I knew that Joyce had a good job. I said, I don't think I can afford Joyce. My job don't quite pay like, But he said, well, you might be surprised. He said, want her to ask her. So I called her and made an appointment with her and went over and just went in her office. And I said, Joyce, I won't take a lot of your time. And and I can't afford you, but maybe you could tell me somebody that could do what you do that I could afford to hire, you know, kind of thing. And she said, well, you might could hire me. And I said, well, I'd like to think I could, but I can only pay you. And I gave her a number.
Right.
She said, well, I can do that. And so that was it.
How wonderful.
Oh, it was great, man.
She knew literally everyone in the music business worldwide.
And knew all the secrets.
Knew all the
and
secrets.
knew how to do everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That may be the best hire you ever made ever. She was great.
Yeah.
I'd ask her a question and she'd go.
How we used to, speaking of Jerry.
Even if I wanted to date a person, I said, Joyce, check this lady out for me. And
Right.
so in a day or so, I'd say, what about Miss So-and-so?
Oh, God.
So
We used to make that joke about Mike and Jerry. So Jerry Lieber was a crazy ADHD, bipolar, out of his mind, let's do everything, you know. And so Jerry'd be like,
Had it all.
ready to go. He asked me, I went to Chicago one time to meet with all the advertising agencies.
Yeah.
Right. And I went up there and we had these big meetings and a bunch of funny things happened. But we're going there and it's like, you understand, you know, that we represent these songs and these songs and these songs and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, this is great. Would you guys consider this, consider that? And we did a big deal with Stand By Me for Buick back then. It was huge.
Wow.
It was like $7 million deal back then.
Stand by me.
And so we were doing all these things and all that. And I came back and he said, how'd it all go? You know, and I said, well, this went really well and this went really well. And I said, there's a problem here and a problem there. There's a big company, Ogilvy, one of the biggest ad agencies in history. And I'd said something about maybe we should do this or this. We could put together another package that's specifically for them and give them some parameters on cost. And we'll give them a nice package, you know, so they'll understand when they call, they know they can make a deal. He immediately said, how much would it cost to buy them? You know, they were about a $2 billion a year company or something like that, you know. But that's Jerry. He's like, well, let's buy Ogilvy Mather. It'll be fine, you know. And then Mike, we used to say he was Dr. No, you know. You'd come in to ask about something, whether it was buying a piece of furniture for the lobby or traveling somewhere, whatever it was. He would just say, how would you like your no?
That's funny.
So when you saw Elvis at the Fox Theater, was that the only time you saw him live?
Only time I ever saw Elvis.
And what year was that?
57.
Wow. That's very early Elvis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
Heartbreak Hotel.
Yeah.
How was that concert?
Man, that was like a Billy Ray concert.
That's when he was still Elvis.
Yeah.
Panties flying and
Yeah.
bras. And
Wow.
Wild times.
Wow.
it was crazy.
That is crazy.
That was something.
Yeah, man. You know,
But there's not a better theater in the South to see a live concert than
No kidding. I've never been to the Fox.
the Ryman is the only other place.
Yeah. Pretty great.
They're both acoustically designed and they just, I mean,
sound really good. Yeah.
yeah, there's
I
not
love
a
'em.
bad seat in the house.
Right, right. That's fantastic. Who else did you see there? If you were in the business of seeing acts back then, right? You were seeing a lot of shows.
Yeah.
Anybody else stand out at the Fox?
No, not
And that's
really.
amazing. You think about that, Elvis was that good in 1957.
Yeah.
You've probably seen 5,000 live shows, and it's like, well, there's Elvis at the Fox.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's the deal.
but Billy Ray was like that. in
Yeah,
the
had the
beginning.
same electricity.
Yeah,
Billy Ray was like at the Paramount in Ashland.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. The Paramount in Ashland.
Yeah, but nobody knew that. If you didn't know what that was, that was the whole thing. People were like, "Jesus, this guy's already a star. Who is this guy? Where is it?
Yeah.
I want to be there."
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I've never seen the Paramount. I've never been there. I wasn't there for that. But I can't imagine what's around it. Is it out in the middle of nowhere? Or
No,
No, it's right in quote unquote downtown Ashland.
oh, I didn't know that. I've
You
never been there.
know,
it's really nice on the inside.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
you could walk into the Longhorn or wherever with Billy Ray, and in about less than 2 minutes, it would be quiet as a mouse.
Right.
Wow.
And you would know someone had entered
Right.
the building.
Isn't that
And
wild?
he had that aura,
Just wild.
it's the touch, I
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah,
He had been touched, and
There's nothing like standing
everyone-
with him, right? Standing with him on stage when he's going out there. You're standing on the edge there, and he walks outside. Soon as he clears the curtain, the noise. I remember standing backstage at a festival one time down in Southern California, and one of our artists was on there, and he was having hits at the time. But I was with one of our young female singer-songwriters, Sydney Forrest, who I just love. She never did
Right.
have big hits. We got her on a couple of TV shows, and great things like that happened. But standing there with her one day, and it's like when Uncle Cracker was still hanging around with Kid Rock, and he walked out there and he'd had a big hit with Follow Me.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he walked out from behind there and the band came on the stage, there's that welling of applause that comes from 25, 30,000 people. And it's all, of course, it's an amphitheater, so it all comes at you
yeah,
like a little bit of a funnel, and it comes down and it's like, ooh. I remember looking at her saying, "This is why we do this, right? That what just happened right then? This is the thing, right? The people that can make that happen.
Yep.
It is an amazing feeling.
I'm sure you knew that Cotton worked with Uncle Cracker.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yep. Man, I'm just thinking about that. What you were just saying, and Billy Ray connected that year at Fanfare when Billy Ray came out to do the show, the Mercury show. And I'll never forget, there'd been a bunch of acts on all day, and stuff going on. You're not used to go out there nonstop. And the band hadn't even started playing yet. They were just getting ready to hit the first note, and he was going to come out. And somehow he came out behind the thing back there early. And I mean, I'd never heard the in all my fanfares during those days.
Yeah.
I had never seen that before. The sound that came out. Then he went back and the band started, and I went, "Wow, look at that." Because at that point the record had blown up, but I still hadn't seen Billy live before ever. At that point.
Wow. That's a
And
hell
it's
of
like
an
we're seeing
introduction
what happened.
to it.
I'd never experienced that before. And
Awesome.
and it was a measurement against the whole day and every act that had played.
Right.
Like, and he hadn't even started playing yet.
Oh, I love that.
George Strait used to do country music festivals, he called it, but it was a day-long concert, and the concert would end with George Strait, and he was at Buckeye Stadium there in Columbus. 80,000 people there.
Yeah.
And
The horseshoe.
Brooks and Dunn opened up for him, and Reba McEntire, big acts. But when he walked out on stage, you could feel it in your chest.
Oh,
The
yeah.
noise.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
80,000 people screaming.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
Oh,
Wow.
I mean, it's amazing. And I mean, that still happens.
Yeah.
You think about the Taylor Swift stuff we were talking about, there's still people that are making that happen.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of these same people will be able to make it happen in 20 years,
Exactly.
right? We'll see. We'll see, because I think it's tough.
Yeah.
It's hard to make that sustainable these days.
Yeah, well, it's like we said earlier today.
But that Elvis came off of the Louisiana Hayride,
Yep.
and it was like a launching pad to the Opry. you
Yeah,
know?
right.
If you could get from the Hayride to the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, you had made it.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know?
Absolutely. Yeah, there are great stories about that. My God, yeah. Coming
Yeah.
from the Louisiana Hayride, he kind of he mixed that whole formula up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
He made
I'll
his
say.
own brew.
I'll say, yeah, for sure.
That was amazing, though. That's like,
They started a label in the early 80s. The Hayride did. And the man who had bought the Hayride, his name was David Kent. And his family owned the nicest men's store in Shreveport or Bossier City or anywhere in that area.
Right.
And Mr. Kent had a lot of money, and he bought the hayride, and he had added a lot of artists to the roster because they still had the live shows on
Right.
the weekend,
Yeah.
like the Opry. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, you got to fill those slots.
Yeah, and they were all broadcast live over KWKH in Shreveport, and had some really good acts. Had some good
I bet.
acts. Mickey Furman,
Wow.
Kenny Surratt, Truman Langford, Dino Zimmerman,
Yeah. Guitar player, yep.
Didn't Merle Kilgore come out of that?
Merle Kilgore, yeah. Johnny Horton.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wasn't Merle Hank Williams guitar, the hander or whatever you call that person that reaches him a guitar?
Guitar tech. Yeah.
They didn't call it that back
And then
then.
that's
No,
how
they didn't
he-
have
he
such
be-
words.
That's how he became the manager of Hank Jr. because he'd been around Hank since he was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love Merle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a great guy.
What a
What
funny
a funny guy.
Funny man again.
Talk about a funny guy.
Yeah.
That was one of the best things about that period of time with those characters that were all funny.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah,
you
they were.
Because if you're a really great songwriter, you're probably well read. You got to be clever, right? And you got to be whip smart.
Yeah.
It just makes for good comedy. You know, I mean, these guys were just unleashing the funny all the time.
They
Yeah.
were funny.
Jack Clement.
And
Jack
Oh, yeah.
Clement's crazy.
all
Yeah.
the two guys, Jack Clement and Bill Hall, they were
Yeah.
funny guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was funny. What was the deal with? There was a whole bet going on for a long time about Buddy Killen's toupee. And at Maud's Courtyard, there was a standing bet for like $1,000. And I think it was Bill Hall that said, I'll give anybody $1,000 that knocks that rug off his head. And of course, nobody ever took him because it'd be the end of your career.
Yeah, or your life.
Or your life. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was like, you know, you go in Maud's Courtyard and you talk about holding court. Well, you could hold court back then. They were all
That's
funny.
Right, that's right.
Everybody. Well, you had to be. You had to be one of those people to even do this.
Yeah,
You know.
that's true.
What was the big guy's name that sang at the Stockyard?
We just mentioned him the other day.
Well, oh yeah, I can see his face too.
I can see him right now.
Vernon, Kenny.
If you say it, I'll know it.
Yeah,
We said it the other day. Jason remembered it. I can't remember now.
let me just call him.
Yeah.
I don't remember because I missed that gap.
Yeah.
The Stockyard, I was there several times, but it was early.
Yeah.
Or if I was back in town from Los Angeles and there was a showcase, I'd go.
I hated to see that place close.
Yeah,
The lead guitar player's name was Hank
I didn't know. I just knew
because he was a private detective.
Didn't know that.
Hank was a dick,
Yeah, and he
Private.
also
private
married
dick.
the girl that sang with Toby on the road, Micah.
Yeah. I think that's her name. Yeah.
Micah,
Yep.
great singer, a real pretty girl.
Yep.
I love it.
Tommy Riggs.
Tommy Riggs.
Tommy Riggs at the Stockyard.
Tommy Riggs.
And the name of the band was like Gang Control or something. Tommy
Yeah,
Riggs and
something
Gang
like
Control
that.
seems like that. or-
They had a name, yeah.
I can't remember now. Yeah.
And the little guy that played the horn, German guy. What was it?
I didn't even remember
Henry
that.
Somebody.
Yeah.
Boy, he was so good.
Yeah. I only saw him play a couple times. I usually went down
I think I
there.
probably did see him, but I remember the name more than I remember the
And they
act.
had a keyboard player. He went on to be a session player.
Not sure who it is.
He was so good.
I don't remember that.
Boy, I can't recall him right now. I see him, but it'll take me a minute.
Huh. I love it.
You know, there are none of those places anymore with bands
No.
playing that I know of.
No, nobody's got a band, a house
Yeah,
band or
yeah.
whatever, you know. It was like, what was the top of the marker? There was something where Millsap played because people used to talk
Oh,
about it
the
all
King of the
time.
Road.
King of the Road.
King
yeah.
of the Road.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because
Yeah.
Ronnie always talked about getting discovered there, basically.
Yep. I went there years later. You were already in California. They opened it back up again. It wasn't called the King of the Road anymore before they. I think that building's gone now.
Yeah.
Didn't they tear it down finally?
Believe so.
Right there by the highway.
Yeah.
No, it's still there.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Glenn had brothers and a couple of sisters, but mostly boys in the family. And if there was a dispute between any of the boys or the father and a boy or boys, they settled it with boxing gloves.
I support it.
So when Shorty turned 16, Glenn was a couple of years older, and he decided that he had reached manhood. And Shorty would have to do his chores from then on. And he would do the man stuff. So Glenn's father told him, says, Glenn, hook up the team. We've got to go to town. They live in Delight, Arkansas.
Delight, Arkansas. I remember that.
Yeah, 3 or 4 miles from town, you know. So, and Glenn said, no, said, that's Shorty's job now. I'm a man now, and Shorty needs to hitch up the team, and I'll drive the team to wherever we're going, and this kind of stuff. And his dad, you know, no, that's not going to work. And told his mother, says, go get the gloves. Just like that. And so she did. And Glenn and his dad got the gloves on. Glenn took a swing, and the old man just cold cocked him, just laid him out cold as and pulled his gloves off and handed them to his wife. He says, now, when Glenn comes to, tell him I said to hitch up the team.
That's such a great story.
Oh, I love it. Oh,
That's
man.
funny.
Yeah. And it's true because it's in his book.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Mm-hmm. I don't know which one of his brothers I met. It was at June Jam
You
one
probably
time.
met Shorty.
It probably was. That's what I was
Shorty
thinking.
ran with him all the time.
It was him then. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to
The
meet
one
him.
that caused him to
And
get
I-
knocked out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Shorty was always with him, though.
Man, oh man.
Yeah, man, that's great. That's fun stuff.
Well, if we wrap up today, I was going to ask Harold one thing. Do you have any regrets?
Not really.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a good run, huh?
I hate to sound that stupid, but I guess if I had a regret would be that I wish I had made a record with George Jones.
Oh, yeah.
He was just the ultimate to me.
Yep.
The greatest male country singer ever.
Ever that lived, yep.
I wish I had made a record with him, but I didn't.
Yep. Wow.
But that would have been a lot of fun.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been a great thing to do,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
But no. And so far as nobody could have had a better situation. I had all this talent around me, Russ and all the girls and the other guys, and we just did so many unusual things.
Yeah.
You know, we did things you can't do.
you know, exactly.
Yeah, and it was like that, but it was just a fabulous ride, you know.
No doubt about it.
What project or record or anything that you did that didn't happen was the most disappointing? We haven't asked that, have we?
I guess
One that should have been a hit.
Yeah, that you said, man, I got something here, and it didn't turn out like you hoped for.
Jeff Chance.
Yeah,
Huh.
Jeff Chance. I love that stuff.
Yeah,
I love that stuff.
yeah,
Marlo
I
Taggart.
loved it.
Yeah,
Marlo Taggart. Yeah.
Yeah, Marlo.
yeah.
Mine was John
Jeff.
McLaughlin.
Jeff. You probably knew Jeff. He was from Houston.
I feel like I know the
And
name.
he,
Did I meet
he
him
had
with
a
you?
rock and roll band one time, and they were called Chance.
Chance, yeah.
You might have still been here when Harold first started on that. I hadn't been here very long. No, you were already gone.
I was gone,
You were already
but
gone,
I feel
yeah.
like I still, maybe you just played the sides for me or something.
May have been. I probably played it for you. We were pretty high on that stuff.
Yeah, because
He
you tried
was-
to pitch it out. Yeah, I know. I remember
because
this.
this is
He
before
was
Harold
an
went to Mercury.
incredible country singer,
Yeah.
and he played every instrument, that
Right.
you would ever need to play.
Right.
He played, I think, 9 different instruments,
Wow.
including a steel guitar and a fiddle, which he played on the sessions. He
Wow.
was that good.
So he's good enough.
Yeah. And he had a really unusual sounding voice, and he sang totally in tune.
Wow.
You didn't have to tune him or do anything.
Wow.
And about 3 years ago, he was selling cars in Houston, and he drove up in his mother's driveway and died.
Hunched over and died. Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
After he sat there for a while, she went out she knew something was wrong, and so he had died, had a heart attack, had died.
Goodness.
But he was an incredibly talented man,
Well, he really was.
That's beautiful.
and just the coolest guy in the world, But he's a should have been.
Yeah.
I thought, frankly, I thought Butch Baker would be
Yep.
a little more accepted
Yep.
than he was.
He was good, man.
He was a good singer too.
He was.
and wrote some good. We did one of his songs.
Yep. You did the duet with Danielle Alexander.
Yeah,
too.
that's right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Wow.
Danielle was good too.
Yep. Yeah, I thought Butch was going to blow up too. I really did.
Yeah.
That's
He
cool.
went on to have a pretty good career in publishing. He worked at Horry
Yeah,
Pro.
he worked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good business.
Well,
I mean, good life.
His work ethic was really, really good,
Yeah.
and he did a great job at Horry Pro.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
Guy. Talented guy, yeah. Yeah, Jeff Chance, I hadn't thought about him in a while. He was really a talented guy, man.
Yeah,
Wow.
he was.
That's cool.
And we did one record that was pretty good on him.
I think if I had,
That's
you
the
know
one
what?
I gave to Mike Curb and then had to buy it back to get it from.
Yeah. He was a pretty good business guy, too.
Yeah, he did you, man.
No shit, man.
I used to, because Curb was the sponsor of Belmont on the West Coast. So, and earlier when you guys were talking to
Doyle.
Broadway, yeah, I was going to say Hollywood, but
Yeah.
then when you were talking to Doyle, he was talking about how Belmont cranks out more students than the music business could ever hold. It's like between Belmont and MTSU. Now there's the Clive Davis School at New York University, and UCLA has everybody got a program for the music business.
Everybody got a school now.
Yeah, and you think about, well, I was the only person that graduated from Belmont that was doing anything on the West Coast. So every time they had a photo op, I was me and Mike Curb. We never did get to know each other hardly at all. I don't think he'd recognize me today. But I was in picture after picture after picture with him because they'd have what they call it Belmont West. Wow. And that's when the students from here would come out there for a semester and study. And then they'd have a thing I remember one was at the Fox Studios and one of the sound stages, et cetera. And we'd all come down there and say how great Belmont was, and I'd get my picture taken. And in 25 years, I lived in Los Angeles for 25 years, almost to the month, and never met another guy out there that had gone to Belmont.
Wow.
In the music business. Nobody,
Wow.
Mike Curb was Dale Earnhardt's first NASCAR sponsor.
Yep.
Ha!
I knew that.
That's a good start.
Yeah.
I did know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He got into racing before any of these other people did.
Oh, yeah. He sponsors everything.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep.
I think about it. If I had one regret, any one regret, I wish I'd have spent more time with Brando.
Yeah. I started to say that, but I thought, well, that's tacky.
That's funny.
Oh, shit.
I
I'm
wish I'd
glad I was
spent
here.
a little more time.
A little
with
more
Brando.
time with Brando.
Oh, that's great. That's
I
great.
love it.
Oh,
Thanks, Harold. Thank
Yeah,
you,
man.
guys.
Brian, thank you.
Appreciate y'all having
Thank
me come out and
you.
hang out.
Yeah.
And next time we go to that restaurant we went to today, I'm buying.
Okay.
I'm getting three McDoubles in.
You can get 3 McDoubles. Exactly. All right. Thank you, guys.
Shell out falls.
I got shell out falter.
That's funny.
Oh,
All right, guys, let's call it a day.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we through?
Thanks, so.
We're through.
Wow.
We did good.
That does it for this episode of Behind the Shed. Thank you for joining us. Behind the Shed podcast was created by Wade Smith, produced by Russ Zavitson and Wade Smith, recorded at Ace Haggerty's podcast house in Nashville, Tennessee. Camera, audio, and video and editing by Zach Day and Jack Youngblood. Music written and composed by Russ Zavitson. Today's guests were Brian Rawlings, Russ Zavitson, Wade Smith, and Harold Shedd. You can contact the show via email at behindtheshedd@gmail.com or visit us on Facebook and Instagram at Behind the Shed. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform and also on our YouTube page. If you would like to support this podcast, please visit patreon.com/behindtheshed. Have a great day and share some stories. Tune in next week as we go Behind the Shed. If you're in the market for a new or pre-owned vehicle, try Pop Chevrolet. Pop Chevrolet will get you the best price guarantee. Visit popchevy.com. That's POPS Chevy.com. This episode is brought to you by Paintsville Tourism. Paintsville is located in eastern Kentucky in the heart of the US 23 Country Music Highway. Visit paintsvilletourism.com. That's paintsvilletourism.com. Come see why Paintsville is eastern Kentucky's city of note. This episode is brought to you by Wild Bill's Fireworks. At Wild Bill's, they will help you start and maintain a successful fireworks business. Whether you're starting a retail store, a seasonal tent, or a part-time venture, Wild Bill's is your one-stop wholesale fireworks supplier. Their team can help you pick inventory. They offer business training, ongoing support to make sure you stay profitable no matter the size of your business. Call or text for more information. Just ask for Bill at 606-367-5569. That's 606-367-5569. Or visit wildbillsfireworks.com and make sure you ask about their financing plan.